All right, let's go ahead and talk about draft day news that came out. Aaron Rodgers, he is officially come out and pretty much said that he is very upset with the Packers organization. Like, and this isn't like a minuscule thing. This is, and what's almost more, I would be more scared about as a Packers fan is how he did try to keep it internal. And they did try to keep it internal, because if you want to look at the wide amount of trades that occur, the people who are most successful at getting traded are players that keep it within the organization. We saw with Matthew Stafford, he wanted to be traded, and it came out only about a week before he was actually traded that was going to happen. So when players, kind of go about it in a more, I guess, respectful way than going and slamming their team on Twitter and other things like that, they're able to get it more effectively. I know another player that didn't make a huge deal about it was the offensive tackle from Baltimore. I'm blanking on his name right now, but what is it? Orlando Brown? I know.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to remember because I wasn't for sure, but yeah, Orlando Brown. He mostly kept it internal, and he did get traded. So it would scare me a little bit if I was a Packers fan that they worked so hard to keep it internal. And I think how it kind of seems like is that the Packers kind of leaked the information, and they kind of wanted it to be known that, this is what's going on. And it's kind of gotten to the point because supposedly the GM and the coach and the Packers, their president, all of them have taken flights to talk to Rodgers, and he has not budged. He's upset about the Love pick. He wants the GM fired, Brian Gutekunst, and he's told people within the organization that he just doesn't want to play anymore for that team. And Rodgers and the GM both acknowledged it. So that, as a Packers fan, That would scare the shit out of me, if I'm being completely honest. That is terrifying for Packers fans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting scenario, right? I mean, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have never always quite seen eye to eye all throughout his career, and there's always been little murmurings of him either wanting out or just overall not being completely happy. So it's really not anything that catches us out of left field. We've all been seeing this brewing for about a year now, ever since they made that pick for Jordan Love. I understand his frustrations, and I understand Aaron Rodgers want to be constantly competing for Super Bowls, to be in the actual Super Bowl. I get that. At the same time, though, I mean, I think that he should leverage his power and everything within the organization. But it's just really interesting that he gets so upset about that. Like, it's like, dude, you're still hanging on to that. Even a year past. I know there's more that comes into it, but it's still.
I think it's less about Jordan Love as a player and more about the collective, just the collective idea that the Packers have done a really terrible job surrounding Rodgers with talent in general. And they have made it known that, there's been players that Rodgers has wanted to keep in the past that they have cut. There's been players that he has wanted on the team that they haven't even really acknowledged. Maybe they are trying to kind of fix that. And I know they did add another wide receiver in this draft. We'll get to it. That being in the in the third round, though. So I don't think Rodgers, from my understanding on it, I don't think he holds anything against Jordan Love. I just think he is tired of being treated like a B-class quarterback when he's an A-plus class quarterback. All right, guys, really quickly before we continue with the show, we have to let you know that this podcast is supported by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they obsess over their technology developments. They're trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and we have an exclusive offer code for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping using code BEARNECESSITIES, no space, at manscaped.com. Manscaped sent both Reese and I over a bunch of their tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0. And guys, Manscaped is a great company. They wanted us to wait until we try the products to give you guys our honest opinion, and it is a very good product. They have no-nick technology and a little LED light which helps you get the job done a little bit easier. Both Reese and I have really enjoyed the Lawnmower 3.0 so far, and we're looking forward to trying a lot of their other products. The underwear that they sent us in the box too has been spectacular, and if you guys are into athletics or go to the gym frequently, highly recommend those as well. And guys, really quickly, if you use the same razor on your face as below the waist, guys, that's a little bit nasty. Try to pick up something specifically engineered for that below the waist region with the Lawnmower 3.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BareNecessities at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping using code BareNecessities at manscaped.com. Make sure you check how to spell that in the description. That's going to support the podcast tremendously. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
I think that's somewhat fair, but I don't know. At the same time, like, has he always been loaded with weapons? No. Have they drafted players like Devontae Adams though? Like, yeah.
I mean, Devontae Adams is good. I'm not going to play around with that, but I think that I think it's not one thing. I think it's a host of different things. Like, I know one thing he was really upset about was when they cut Jordy Nelson. He was not happy about that. And like little things like that, they add up for a guy like this. He is in the position where he kind of deserves a say in what the organization does. I mean, how Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are for the Chiefs and the the Buccaneers. I think I understand what you're saying. It is a little bit annoying that he's kind of being a diva about it for Packers fans, but I kind of understand why he's upset.
No, I definitely understand. I definitely get it, and it's the way that the league's moving, right? Like, so much that we hear a lot of these quarterback trades is about having that quarterback control. I mean, I think ultimately that's what, well, not 100%, because there's a lot of things that play into the Deshaun Watson situation when that was like red hot, but a lot of it came with that too, right? I mean, trading away DeAndre Hopkins, he's like, well, what the hell? He's my number one guy. So I get that, and I see the parallels with that in Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, even in the case of Jordy Nelson, like, dude was out of the league like a year after they cut him.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and I know that not exactly, there was things that happened with the Raiders. He had injuries and all that came into play, but
yeah, but he sucked.
Yeah, but when you take when you zoom out a little bit, I think he needs to understand kind of the way the organization's moving too, and the way the organization operates. And I get, he can raise a fit and raise a stink about it. That's fine, which he is, and rightfully so. But I think in some ways he needs to ground himself and take a look backwards too, and be like, yeah, maybe at least try to understand at least a little bit where they're coming from. Not calling Aaron Rodgers a diva, but like, come on. I mean, he certainly does, throw a fit about sometimes things that are not a huge deal.
He definitely can, for sure. And I think that, again, I just think it's one thing after the other. If I was Aaron Rodgers, if I'm being honest, I think what the Packers have done to Aaron Rodgers has been criminal. Like, they have Aaron Rodgers, and they've only been able to surround him with enough talent to win one Super Bowl. I mean, that is insane. And I know he did not get along with Mike McCarthy, and they fired him about 3-4 years too late. He was not that good of a coach when it came down the stretch for the Packers. I just think that, I understand Rodgers, and I think that he has limited time left in his career if this organization isn't going to be loyal to him. He said that he would be willing to play for them. I think his conditions are if the GM is fired and he gets a contract extension. So he wants them to commit to him essentially for the rest of his career. Otherwise, he'd rather, leave.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that entirely. I think that at some point, I think ultimately what I'm trying to hit at here is he just needs to get an idea and put a little bit of responsibility on himself too. I mean, Definitely. At the end of the day, yeah, that team only won one Super Bowl, and that is criminal. I mean, he's an A+ quarterback. He's always played like it. But, he hasn't come without his flaws. There's been certain times in big games where he has not played up to what we all expect of him. It's happened. It's happened where he's not performing up to that point. It doesn't happen very often. There's a lot of times in playoff runs where he plays absolutely where he needs to be and the defense lets him down. My question for him, though, is where does he think he's going to go where he's going to get all of this? I know there's certain teams will certainly let him have a lot more influence than he does with the Packers, but I feel like he's getting a sense like he's going to step into this ultimate team, like the Chiefs are like this complete ultimate team, like they have no problems at all, when that's definitely not true. Or even Tom Brady walking into the Buccaneers. I mean, look back at when Tom Brady was on the Patriots, so many times he had to, either work with having no weapons at all. He usually had some fairly good defenses in the past, sometimes elite defenses, especially towards the latter part of his career and the beginning part. But in the middle part, sometimes he suffered through, crap defenses too. It's like, ultimately, I just don't know what your end game is. I get what he wants, but I don't think he's being really realistic in his expectations.
Here's what I think actually ends up happening. I don't really think there's a huge chance he gets traded. Personally, I think the Packers, the way they kind of run their organization, they would I just don't see them trading him. I think there's a solid chance he just retires. And they said that was a possibility, and I think that is one of the most likely scenarios, is that he just says,
fine with me.
He's getting married, his girlfriend, apparently she lives by where they filmed Jeopardy. I think they filmed Jeopardy in like Burbank, California or something. Apparently she lives by there. I don't even know what his girlfriend does, if I'm being completely honest, but
she's an actress.
Okay, that makes sense then. LA. I think that is on the table. I truthfully believe that Aaron Rodgers retiring and not playing next season is very much on the table. But I think more so what he's looking out of a football team is Rodgers has been kind of clear that he would have interest in, running an organization after his football career ends. So, honestly, how would he expect to do that with a team that won't even devote loyalty to him right now? I think that, he would, that's why I think he partially thinks Denver is so attractive, is because it's the type of situation where once he's done, he could definitely get a front office position there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very possible. That doesn't make sense. Have fun working with Elway, though.
Right.
Like literally. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, but you have to admit Denver has done a better job surrounding Drew Lock with weapons than the Packers ever did with Rodgers. I mean, they don't even have like that great of weapons, but they consistently give him draft picks, and obviously Drew Lock sucks, but we don't really need to get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could do a whole thing on Denver personally. I mean, they're another team that just consistently wastes talent, honestly. I mean, phenomenal defenses for like the past 10 years. If it wasn't for bringing in Peyton Manning, honestly, they probably could have won without Peyton Manning.
They're underrated. Even currently, the Denver defense is pretty underrated.
Yeah. I mean, that defense really kind of dragged him to that championship with Peyton Manning doing a little bit of what he could towards the end of his career. But if it wasn't for bringing in Peyton Manning, I mean, this Denver team would look so damn lost. They're not a great run organization at all. Like, John Elway has made so many boneheaded moves. Like, you could damn near call them the Raiders. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
that's
not going to
actually
give
a good comparison. John Gruden and John Elway, they kind of act similar in terms of running their football teams. By the way, the Raiders' first round pick was pretty hilarious. again, just hilarious. It's always such a vast overdraft. It was like when they drafted Clyland Farrell 4th overall, like a couple years back, and people were like, "What the hell?"
They live on their own draft board, man. They literally don't care what other teams.
It's funny because the Seahawks don't get enough flack because they do a pretty terrible job drafting as well. Like the Seahawks, this is the most insane stat that I've ever heard. The Seahawks over the past 10 years have devoted more first-round draft picks to offensive linemen than any team in the NFL currently. And their team is terrible on the offensive line, arguably one of the worst. That's hilarious, but
shows you the impact of a good quarterback. A lot of these teams are actually consistently not necessarily teams that are front runners for the Super Bowl, but are at least making the playoffs. are usually there just to the point because they have a good quarterback dragging them there, and they're actually just absolutely poorly run organizations that do very little to sustain their success other than having kind of struck gold on a quarterback. So
before we move on to our draft, I want to know, what would be your Packers win total prediction if Aaron Rodgers leaves and Jordan Love takes over? By the way, is there anyone in a worse situation right now than Jordan Love? God, things are just setting up for the fan base to absolutely hate him. It's not even his fault either. It's the organization's fault. But like, damn, I can't think of like any organization that like, I don't know. Like, it seems like Brian Gutekunst just absolutely shit the bed on this one.
Yeah. You know what? That's a really interesting question because I feel like we talk about Jordan Love a lot, but I have really no clue where he is in his quarterback development, right? I mean, your guess would be as good as mine. Anyone's guess would be as good as mine. I would say that they would just be miserable and bad, and I feel like, for the most part, it would open up a lot of opportunities for teams within the division, but I could certainly see them still somehow manage to hook things up. They're going to struggle for sure, and they're going to lose a lot of these games that they would have with Aaron dragging them to the top. But I still think they could at least manage 7 wins, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's kind of the area that I was looking at, because like even with Jordan Love, they'd probably get 2 games on the Lions.
I mean, if they're playing early, well, actually, I'm not sure. We haven't had the schedule released yet, right? Where we don't know like where everything lines up.
we don't know where everything lines up directly. But
if there was an early season game against the Bears where Dalton's quarterback, I'd definitely give the Packers a fighting shot. Still,
yeah, that's kind of hilarious, honestly. Definitely. I think any team that's playing us early in the season has a fighting shot when we have Andy Dalton at quarterback. But yeah, I'm thinking like 6-7 wins type of team. I think the coaching is going to really come under the microscope, because it's like, okay, when you have Aaron Rodgers, it's easy to be a coach. You don't have to do that much. You can really turn things over to him a lot. And LaFleur obviously kind of made a massive mistake. We cannot forget this. Kicking a field goal on 4th down when they needed 7 points, when they had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, which obviously ended miserably for them against the Buccaneers, who went on to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, no, it's just, I would not have super high expectations. I think that both the Chicago Bears and the Vikings would finish over them in the division, which the Vikings is saying a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, it would be really interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on.